Good afternoon, Nigeria. I can't see your faces. I'm usually live in a room. So if you can hear me, put your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. There you go. Where are my peoples? Yeah, no wala. I hope Kazim told you what I was all about. And I'm testing subtitles for now. Is it okay for everybody? Show of hands if that came through okay. Excellent. All right, my name is Sam Erskine. I'm the head of cloud engagement for a large organization. And today I'm just going to be talking to yourselves about career development in IT, but it's applicable to anything else you want to do, in my opinion. But first and foremost, I want to thank the sponsors. I can't call out all their names, but seeing that you're great students or those that have been working for a while, I believe it's LASUTECH and a whole host of people that made this event possible. But a big thank you to Kazim for inviting me to come and join you. He did promise me that I will be coming to Nigeria, and then somehow he managed to manufacture this whole crazy crisis so I couldn't fly over. So I promise, hopefully next year, I'll be joining you to have some suya and whatever else you have over there. So to begin with, I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey. I've been in, wow, the subtitle stuff, it's really crazy. I've been in technology for about 24 years, but my father was actually a technologist himself. So I was actually introduced to computers back in the early 80s. So I just thought I'll give you a little drop in the ocean. I consider myself a black box learning guru. That's because I learn, I practice, implement, and then try and teach it. As a result, I've ended up publishing about 8 books. I've been speaking around the world for quite a number of years as well. And I also started a new initiative with Kazim called Africa Talks Tech. So I'm constantly learning. But I've switched from being a field service engineer to desktop support, server support. Then I moved into the cloud. What I also like is a lot of gadgets, and I love to cook. That fish on the side there was some snapper I made. So that just gives you an idea. So when I say I'm a kitchen beast, I ain't joking. So about this talk, what's this all about? I like to start with why we're here, walk you through what's out there to help you, and show you how to get there, and hopefully leave some room for us to have a little chat at the end. So to kick straight into it, I mean, why would you want to have an IT career, a technology career today? The obvious answer is a lot of dollars or naira, but I don't know what the conversion is. I grew up in Ghana, so I know more about cedis than naira. To do that, nobody will give you that for free. And what you've first got to do is think about what are your interests. Work through the skills, set yourself goals that you can achieve. And it starts off with, in education, I went through my O levels. I got a degree because growing up, that's all you were targeted. That's all that you had as a target from my parents. Get a degree or you're no good. But today, you have so many ways in which to get educated and get developed. And I believe LASUTECH is even one of those that can help you on that journey. But that's not enough because it's easy to get qualified to a certain stage. And that's what I like to call your comfort zone. And the core difference is that if everybody is at that level, then you are not special and you don't have any additional thing to give. But one of the other things to also remember is people say, well, you got lucky. That's why you've got this opportunity. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. The technical team, can you help me out? Somebody's off mute. So to get lucky, you need to have prepared for it. So that's why they say luck is where opportunity meets preparation. So make sure you're doing a lot of preparation. But how do you do that? Today, when you look out there, this is what the world looks like. There's so much information. There are people blogging, there are books and countless resources. However, you have an opportunity to have a much more structured approach to this. So there's self-training. You've got a lot of information out there. You can be creative by calling me, calling Kazim, reaching out to different people. You've got books. There's a lot of e-learning. And this community as an example. So I believe Steve Buchanan was on before me. You had Chris early in the morning. All of these people are blogging constantly, and they're sharing a lot of information to help you along your journey. But you need to understand the difference between career capital and career progression. The difference is that all the skills you're acquiring, you can take wherever you go. If you are within an organization and you are not progressing, it doesn't mean that you can't keep on learning. What you need to do is continue doing that, but you will need to apply something else to this once you've got your capital. And where this becomes very, very important is that you need to listen to those that are around you, because you're always going to be able to pick up tips and tricks from different people that doesn't match what you would normally do. So never be too busy to learn. And even this famous guy, Michelangelo, said, he was still learning at the age of 87. So how do you go about doing this in terms of building your career capital? Well, I would say be so good they can't ignore you, because just saying that you are good at something doesn't always get you to where you need to. So if you study something, share it. Discuss it with other peers. Speak to people like Zim or others in the community. And you've got Isidora and Holly that are probably going to be chatting shortly after me. If you get involved with the community, people will get to know you a little bit more, and you also get to learn a bit more. The other thing to remember is that all technology dies, so don't fall in love with it. I started in the days where you had Windows 3.11. Perhaps there are some of you here that may not even have been born around that time or even know what I'm talking about. Then there was NC4. You've had all kinds of technology that looked like it was going to be here for a while. However, the only constant we have today is change. So don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to switch and pivot. But also remember that just learning about technology isn't going to be good enough, because technology exists to help companies to achieve something. So if you're working for a law firm, you will need to understand a little bit about what they do. If you're working for an accountancy firm, that's also the same. And you have to interact with people that don't necessarily understand technology. So the other thing I do is read a lot of soft skill books or interesting books. So here's just a short collection from my Audible library. One of them is called An Iceberg is Melting, or sorry, Our Iceberg is Melting. But this is to do with organization change and how you can influence people, because you may know about a specific technological domain, but how do you convince your manager to allow you to go on a training course in order to progress your career? The other thing I also say is treat it like it's your own business. You're not at work. It's your business, because when you get paid, you use it how you want to. And you could end up working for yourself. You could end up working for other people. But so long as you treat it like it's your own business, you can grow within, because if you are invested in your career and you're invested in the job that you're doing, you will do your best job. So as I mentioned, continue to experiment. Remember to network. also be a connector. I go into book writing because I'd been to a conference and somebody I met over there had told me they were involved in writing books. And I said, well, someday I'll be interested in doing it. But because they knew I was interested, when the opportunity came up, they told me about it. And that was, I believe, 2012. In 2021, I'm 8 books deep, and I'm actually thinking about writing a fictional book instead of a technical book. Because, like I said, all technology dies. So some of my earlier books, they're already out of date. But I did write it based on process, so there'll still be value in it. Once you get there, remember, it's not bragging if you can back it up. So don't turn up for an interview and say, you know, I can do A, B, and C when you haven't studied, you haven't had any experience. It's best to be honest, because all job adverts don't actually stick to that strict list. So they can say they want 10 things for this particular job, turn up for the interview anyway. You may only have 5, but your attitude could make up for the other 5 that you're missing. And remember, how you conduct yourself in private nowadays is very open to the public. So if you have a Twitter account, if you have a, Instagram account, remember that now recruiters can look at that as well. So your brand matters. So anything you're going to put out there, make sure you're protecting yourself like you're in the middle of an African market and everybody can hear you. I wanted this presentation to be more about a discussion with yourselves, and I'll take questions as well. But if you want to know more about the career side, I did a session on a podcast called Day 2 Cloud. It's called Using Curiosity and Mistakes to Advance Your Career. I share a lot of tips. I also had a conversation with Kazim a little while back. That's also recorded, and I'm available for you to reach out to me. And don't worry about the subtitles for now. I'm still playing with the technology. Like I said, I love gadgets. This is the first time I'm actually using it in any presentation because I am remote. So have fun with it. And I want to say thank you. And I'm going to open it up for questions now.
Nigeria here, when you apply for roles, for job, they give a lot of roles. Like, let's assume you are having 6 roles and you are well qualified for 4. And some companies can be so specific that they want you to qualify for 6. That 6 role they require. So what do you do in this case?
Go in and have a conversation anyway, right? So they may ask for a lot of qualifications and a lot of like specific pieces, right? I usually say work your way back from the job adverts in the first place. So it's not a very straightforward answer, I know, but you still go anyway and have a conversation. So what I was trying to say is that just because they've said unless you have all of these qualifications, don't bother to apply, doesn't mean that you can't anyway. You still need to go in and try and have that conversation. And if they say it's no, then you move on to the next thing and try and see if you can build it up. But also remember that you may not be right for it, but they may also not be right for you. So don't be afraid to ignore that particular role if it doesn't fit, and if they are asking for so much that actually it's not practical. I don't know if that helped, but you can also reach out to me separately if you want to have a one-to-one discussion as well.
Yeah, Samuel, so someone wants to ask a question. So it's saying, can you elaborate more on it's not bragging if you can back it up?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. So I have a lot of qualifications, and I've also written books. I've got a lot of experience. So if I turn up for a job interview and somebody says, are you sure you know how to do cloud architecture? I'm like, yeah, I am the best at this particular area, um, and I can prove it. And this happened earlier in my career when I first wrote a book on Microsoft technology called Service Manager. At the time, I knew that I had the only book on the market. So when I turned up for a job role and they said, how do we know you're better than the next person? I was like, well, I'm the only one with a book on the market about this subject. You can go into Amazon and you can Google me. So that's what I mean about it's not bragging if you can back it up. And even for yourselves, if you do, say, your Azure certification, AWS certification, what I mean is you can say, I'm a qualified solutions architect. That's my idea of bragging. And if they ask you, can you prove it? You can say, here's my Microsoft certified paper. Here's my transcripts. Here's my AWS certification. So that's what I mean about bragging. I don't mean you should go around and say you're the most handsome person in Nigeria because, hey, um, it's very hard to prove that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Samuel.
Okay. My question is, as an IT personnel, you don't want to go into working for an organization. You want to build up your own idea for building apps and stuff. Then how do you go about approaching investors and not letting those organizations or persons that want to invest in you rob you of your idea?
That's a great question. So I worked for other organizations for a long time, and then I went to work for myself for 7 years. The first thing I had to learn was to read a small print. So if you want to work for yourself, first go and study some of the business things that you need, like how to protect yourselves, some of the contracts. So you could have a great idea, you're talking to your investor, but you need to tie each other to a contract that says that even though you're giving me this money, when I create this, you get 20% of it, I get 80% of it. So this is what I mean about studying outside of IT, because without that, then you're in danger of those ideas being taken away. The other thing you can do is take a look at other people that are already doing it. So, you've got Steve Buchanan spoke earlier, Kazim is available to you. Ask them what did they do when they had their idea. And typically, some people also follow this pattern of they'll create a free version of their app and then they'll have a commercial version of it. So that gives you an opportunity to test it to see if it would work. And say if 1,000 people have downloaded the free app, when you go and sign the contract with your business backer, you can then say, look, I already have a customer base. Let's be fair with each other. This is the percentage I'm willing to give up for your investment. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's very clear, very, very clear. So, any other questions?
So, please, do you have any advice for people who felt like they don't want to work for anyone? Maybe they have their own ideas. Do you have any advice for them?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? There was a bit of an echo.
I said, do you have any advice for anyone who feel they don't want to work for anybody when they are done with their college? Do you have any advice for them, whether they have ideas that they want to implement on?
Hello,
So,
Samuel.
hello.
Okay, sorry. His question was that do you have an advice for someone who doesn't want to work for anybody and wants to start up his own company, and so how we can implement it and ways to go about it.
Yes, you can start off that way. At the end of the day, money makes everything go round. So if somebody can help you to invest, or if you have an idea, you can start your own thing. The typical approach, though, is you could start off working for somebody or doing something completely separate, build up your own bank account, and start your own thing. So you don't have to work for anybody. But the way I like to think about it is, if I'm working for somebody, I will save the money in order to start my own organization. But there's nothing wrong with starting off. It's always going to be down to who is willing to help you. Is it your family? Is it your friends? Or is it somebody else that can invest in you to start from the beginning?
Okay, thank you very much, Sam.
You're welcome. And I've got my Twitter handle over there. So if any of you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter, and we can have a much more direct conversation if it helps.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you. Once again, a big thank you to the sponsors, and hopefully next time I'll be there in person. And stay safe, and thank you for inviting me.